Welcome back to the Diary of a CMO, the podcast where I sit with CMOs and thought leaders in marketing and related media, tech, and creative industries. We'll talk about how they got to where they are, strategies and life lessons we can learn from them to help build a career, business, and ultimately a life that we love. I hope you enjoy, and please subscribe. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining me on another episode of the Diary of a CMO. I'm going to start sounding like a broken record now because most of the time when I'm introducing my guests, which I'm very happy about anyway, if I'm being honest, when I'm introducing my guests, I say something along the lines of people I've admired from afar, people I look up to. Yesterday I said a new one when I was having conversations with someone else. It was more in my next life. This is one person I would like to work with. Absolutely. It's a real honor and pleasure to have on the podcast today my guest. He is it might not like the sound of this, but I consider him one of the key leaders, one of the front runners of the advertising and broader marketing comms industry in Nigeria, in West Africa, and the rest of the continent. Just before I press record, we were talking about some of the operations in the UAE as well. I think that he's one of the most decorated independent agency groups on this continent. He's spoken on multiple stages. His track record speaks for himself. He's got a lot of mentees, a lot of people he has raised who have now become marketing leaders in their own rights, and the agency side of things, on the brand side of things. This is truly a marketing legend of this age, and it's with great
Thank you.
pleasure. It's with great pleasure I welcome. He said I shouldn't call him Mr. or Sir. I'm sorry.
We don't do Mr. Sir. We don't do Mr. No. Steve.
It's my pleasure to welcome Steve Babaeko
It's
onto
not
the
it's not
podcast.
it's not so difficult, is it? Steve. It's Steve.
Well, I mean, you give me a lot of prep before I go to this point.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Nice to meet you, Itayo. I don't see myself as a legend. I think I'm still far
Mm,
off from that status, but
yeah,
I'm happy to be here.
yeah. I said you were not going to agree when I said that, but it's my show, so
Of course.
I'll see what I like.
Absolutely. You're the man with the mic.
Don't mind me. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. I deeply appreciate it. Just before we hit record, we're talking about your schedule and everything that and how sort of manic it has been. You were away for a while. You're back in Lagos now, and it's been really, really busy for you. But you have found time to do this with us. So I wanted to say a very, very big thank you for that, sir.
Thank you very much, Itaya. And I think congratulations on the podcast. I think this conversation is long overdue. I'm really glad I finally have the opportunity to join you.
Thank you so much. That is such a compliment. You have no idea. That is such a compliment. I usually like to start my conversations with just a quick look at your background. I know that you have a very interesting background. We're talking very briefly about it just before we started, but just before we press record. But I'd like for the audience to get a glimpse of what your background is like or was like, and how you got to where you are today.
Well, thank you very much. My life is out there pretty much on the internet, whatever. I mean, I've granted a few interviews. But the thing is, Steve Babaeko remains the name. I was born in Kaduna, that is the northern part of Nigeria. And I still feel like Kaduna is my home. Kaduna is like my home, really, really, because I mean, I spent a lot of my formative years in that space. And there's something about the Hausa culture and the Northern culture, the Ariwa culture, that teaches you about loyalty, about uh, community building, about just being able to be on an equal footing with everybody around you, and just that, just being humble and down to earth. I think all of those things I picked up from there. Plus, the magic of just being able to speak the Hausa language and write it. I think it's amazing, you know. And but in between, because my dad he passed at a very early age. I think my dad died at 48 or so, and then he was in the military. So we moved around a bit. From the north, we were in Owerri around when I was about 4, 5, 6 years old, and then we came back to Kogi State, my home state, my which is where I'm originally from. So I'm from Kogi State, where my that's my father's state, and automatically my state. So I'm from the north central region of Nigeria. But
Interesting.
we moved around. I got to understand how to speak Yoruba in Kaduna and learned how to speak Hausa actually in Imo State because it was the lingua franca of the army barracks where my dad was at the time. You know, so I consider myself a true Nigerian, which is where I just to be able to code switch when I'm even just traveling through the airport. I can run into an immigration officer with the Hausa name tag and I'll go blasting Hausa. If I run into Yoruba,
Yeah.
I switch quickly and then we're able to talk like brothers and I keep it going. But I had my formative years. I had attended primary school in Kogi State and then I went for my A level secondary education also in Kogi State as well. And then I went for my A levels at Federal School of Arts and Science in Suleja in Niger State. And then from there, after my A levels, I got the honor and privilege of being able to attend what I consider the best university in Nigeria, Ahmadu Bello University,
Oh
Zaria.
God, oh God. Please let's not start this. So
You know, like our slogan goes, an ABU graduate is naturally ahead of you. So I mean, that's how it is.
wow.
So
Wow.
I had the honor of studying drama at Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, and yeah, all my life I actually wanted to go into broadcasting. So I did my National Youth Service call with NTA Kano, where I had the privilege of presenting a program called Corpus Forum. And I really don't want to see any of those tapes
We have to go
ever.
and find them. We have to go and find them. I
You
promise you,
know,
we'll go and find them.
and until I got to NTA, I think that was where the dream of me being a broadcaster actually died. Because I now was disillusioned because I got there, people look really amazing on TV.
Oh
And after
my
casting
God.
money to go home or whatever, I'm like, look, while I really love this job, I really
Oh
can't do it.
wow. Oh
I was
wow.
like, I'm like the first child, the family of six. I've been taking care of my family as far back as I can remember, but from 16, I've had to try start earning money to take care of myself and take care of my family, because my parents were really, really at the bottom of the food chain, if you in terms of the economic
Wow.
ladder. So, that was when I discovered advertising. I think I was when I after my NYSC. I still and at the moment I made up my mind that broadcasting was no longer for me, I couldn't sleep anymore because I just was thinking, look, all my life I've prepped myself to become a broadcaster. Now that I know that it's not such an economically viable profession, at least at the time, what next am I going to do? And that was when insomnia kicked in and I was up most nights, just didn't know what to do. But then about that time, the Vanguard newspaper in 1995 ran this supplement on advertising agencies. And then, lo and behold, my former boss, Mr. Lulu Akiumi, granted an interview and they quoted him copiously on the kind of agency Prima Garnet that he ran at the time, and then what they do for their staff and how the process of their work and how they create campaigns. I'm like, voila, this is it, man.
Wow.
This is it. And that
Wow.
was an eureka moment for me. And that was when I made up my mind. Well, I mean, this looks like something I can do. And but at the time, 1995 is not exactly the way it is in 2025, where you can just pick up your phone and Google
Right.
anything.
Right.
So I had to trek from my house. If you are familiar with Kaduna, we were living in Costain Quarters then. So I had to
Okay.
trek from Costain Quarters to the Kaduna Library, which is like purely quite a distance, maybe 12, 10, 12 kilometers. I don't even know what that distance is.
Wow. Wow.
I'll do that work every day just to go to the Kaduna Library to research about advertising. I found this
Wow.
brown, dusty book, that had not been open for such a long time. I opened it and now saw stuff about advertising in there, what kind of departments they had there. And then I stumbled on creative department. I'm like, wow, I can do this. I'm a member of the Creative Writers Club in ABU's area. We used to write our poems, put it in the corridor. People will be passing by and put their comments on it. It was so much fun back in the day. So I thought I could do that. So from there, I started giving myself imaginary briefs and I would write
Wow.
to, and that was practically the beginning of my advertising career. So in a
Fantastic.
nutshell, that's my
Fantastic.
background. Yeah,
Fantastic. That's amazing. That's
yeah.
amazing. Wow. Wow. The thing about your story is that, which is kind of where my next question is going, is with some of the CMOs I talk to, I find that, at least for the ones I can remember off the top of my head right now, they usually talk about the role that their parents played in terms of giving them, like, first of all, a very healthy household where,
Sure.
things go work as they should. There's healthy relationships, very wholesome growing up. They also talk about how their parents also allowed them to explore, the passions and things that they really wanted to do, like weren't really forcing them in any direction. For someone like you, um, in the absence of that father figure, how were you able to, sort of take that such a high level of initiative, um, and still kind of drive and be focused on the things that you really wanted to do? Where do you think that came from?
Well, I picked a lot from my dad because my dad passed when I was 19. So
Okay.
actually, I didn't lose him. But one of the things I can say is that most of the decisions about my life, I've had the responsibility of taking them myself. Because at 16, I made one of the first crucial decisions of my life to say, look, I'm so sure as the sun will rise tomorrow that my parents love me dearly and I love them as well. But I was so sure that if I stayed in that house, I knew I can tell from all of the indications, all of the indices, all of the parameters, my fate was sealed. No money, they couldn't afford to give me the kind of education I would have wanted to get. So I knew what my fate was going to be. But if I take the risk, pack my bag, leave this house, then I've just given myself an open chance. Who knows what is out there waiting for me? So
Yeah.
at 16, I packed my bag and left home. You
Wow.
see,
Wow.
so that was the first major decision. And one of the things that I also learned from my dad was him being in the army. I saw him as a young kid wake up every morning, polish his boots, get his uniform ready, just so that he would be there for parade at 7 o'clock in the morning. Never early, never late. He was there on time. So this interview was supposed to start at 3. I'd already logged on waiting for you at maybe 7 minutes to 3. So all of those discipline and all of those, and I learned courage from just being the son of a soldier, grew up in the barrack. You had to fight every day for survival in that barrack to just make sure you are on top of that food chain and not get trampled upon. Also gave me some kind of fighting instinct, which is why till today, some of my best sports apart from golf is mixed martial arts because I see when people fight, I'm able to draw business lessons from all of those combats.
Wow.
Yeah, that is for me is a pastime. And actually, if I ever do a podcast, is to take fights and take draw business lessons out of it. To be honest,
Oh, God.
so
Wow.
so for me, I think yes, my parents were there for me, but at the same time, I was able to leave the nest very early to go fend for myself. And I think
Fantastic.
that was actually the first place where I learned about leadership and management of resources. Because
Wow.
there was never a time where the moment I started living on my own, got my first job, all my siblings just moved into my house. And I can't remember a day where we did not have food to eat or we did not have, no. I learned how to manage resources, how to manage people, guide them to go to school and get education. So
Interesting.
I think it's ended up being
Wow.
a blessing for me, to be
Wow.
honest.
Wow. That's amazing. I think that that's a good point to segue into my next question regarding um, before I come on some of my most of my podcast, I do some, some due
Research.
diligence, the kind of research that people cannot find in books
Absolutely.
or in any
Absolutely.
publication. And I had a conversation with someone that you respect a lot, and I was
Okay.
thinking to him that what are the conversations that he would like to have? I was like, he said he speaks very compassionately about his late mentor,
Yeah.
Mr. Victor Johnson.
Johnson. Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe I think that is a conversation that you should bring up with him because I know it's something that he speaks very compassionately about. So that's my next question. What was because I don't and I
Yeah.
mean, jokes aside, if there's anything I see that maybe we can do better with in corporate world, period, especially in this part of the world, is mentorship. I mean, I one of my guests who is today, that's the CEO of Publicis Group for Africa, Ku Govender. She talked about her experience where she had gone to meet a senior, in her own early days in her career. She had gone to meet like a senior leadership woman to ask for, a mentorship, and the woman literally shut her down and told her like she's not interested in all of that. So I feel like that's an area we can definitely do a lot more with. And I figured hearing you talk about the role this gentleman played in your life will be a good would highlight some of the lessons that comes with mentorship. So tell us about that relationship.
Yeah, Mr. Victor Johnson. Unfortunately, he passed last year. So God bless his soul. God rest his soul. We lost him last year, but I mean, Mr. Victor Johnson will always occupy a very special place in my heart. Because he gave me the first opportunity to start practicing advertising. He was then the CEO of MCNA. MCNA at the time was affiliated to Saatchi and Saatchi. So I came to Lagos. Again, I think I was 24 years old when I finished my youth service, and I woke up on my birthday, June 1, 1995, and I said to myself, "This sun that has risen in this Kaduna is not going to set and define me in that town." I was done with Kaduna. I packed
Wow.
my bag. If I
Wow.
was going to pursue advertising at the time, and I'm sure till now, the only place to practice will be in Lagos because all the major players are in Lagos, all the major clients are here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and there I was. I with little or no money in my pocket, I was headed towards Lagos. Had no plan of where to stay, no place to live. I ended up squatting with a chef in a hotel called the Golden Tulip Hotel today. It was then the Doba Hotel, Mile 2. That's a story for another 2 days, not for
Oh
another
God.
day. So
Oh
I was
God. Oh God.
with the chef of the hotel at the time. And then, with the little money I had, the moment I arrived, next day I was at hit the bus, going to knock on doors. So my plan was Mr. Akiwumi was the one that inspired me to take to this profession. So of course, naturally, I went to his agency and I wanted to see him. And they asked me, "Do you have an appointment?" I said no. And they say, "Okay, but you can't see him." I said, "Well, I have to see him because I came all the way from Kaduna." Meanwhile, if you even rewind a little bit, before leaving Kaduna, I mean, a couple of months before leaving, I had written a letter to Mr. Akiwumi saying how he has inspired me and how I love his interview, blah, blah, blah. Of course, I didn't get a response. And that was the days where you still would post letters and whatever. So I did that. So eventually, I stayed put in Prima Garnet. I was not leaving. I was there for 2 hours. I think they kept on ringing him to say this boy has refused to leave. So eventually, I think he just became compassionate and asked for them to send me up. So I went up and I spoke to him. Yeah, I'm the guy from Kaduna. I have two second class upper degree, blah blah blah. I just want to be given an opportunity to take a test or whatever and see if you guys can find me useful. And he said,
That's
well, thanks, but we're not hiring at the moment. But look out in the papers when we want to hire, we'll put out some kind of vacancy ad in the paper. So I said, okay, I thanked him and then I left, and then I wanted to go back to my hotel. And if you say mile two to Ikeja, it's a bit of distance.
what?
And so
What?
I said, okay, look, let me head out to Shonibare Estate where MCNA was at the time. So I went there and they asked me, I requested to see the managing CEO. Said, do you have an appointment? But because of the experience of what I had gone through in Prima Garnet, I said yes and no. Yes, the man is expecting me. A little bit of a white lie because he was not actually expecting me. No, he did not know that I was going to be coming today, that same day. So it's a yes and no. Okay, so they gave me uh, a form to fill, you know. I think that was probably when I wrote my first copy because I needed to write something compelling that would make the man see me. So in the moment, I did not know what to write. So, but I was just thinking. So it just occurred to me that look, Nigerians hate anything that has to do with lawyers and court cases. So I just wrote there that my lawyer asked me to come see you on an urgent matter. And then I signed it and then they sent it up. So while I was waiting, I saw a magazine on the desk beside me. I picked it up. There it was, the biography of the man I was about to see. I never read anything faster like I did that day. I was just reading, consuming information, and just throwing it upstairs. A couple of minutes later, the phone rang and the man requested that I should come upstairs. So I went there. The moment I opened the door, he just started yelling, my friend, what is all this lawyer business about? I said, so I had to make up a story there and then. I said, a lawyer friend of mine from Kaduna said, if you are really sure you are interested about getting into the advertising business, there's only one person that can give you a shot, and that is Mr. Victor Johnson. Say, what is the lawyer's name? I made up a name. I said, but you might not know him, sir, because he said he knew you when you used to work at Sona Dairies, which was all of the
In the
things I had read while
bio.
I was waiting to see him, you know. And so he said, he called the
Ah,
name a
all
couple of
right.
times and said, this name doesn't ring the bell, but sit down.
Ah,
So he started talking to me, and then we started having just the way we were conversing. He was talking about school, about football, about life. 5, 10 minutes into that conversation, and I was just engaged. I was switched on, I was engaged. 5, 10 minutes, he picked up his phone and called the reception. I don't want to take any call and I don't want to see anybody until I'm done with this gentleman. And then replaced the phone. And then we kept on talking. And I said, look, sir, I'm not even here looking for a job. I just want to be given a test. I have a second class upper, which was the only thing I had to sell at the time. Best result in my department, best result in my faculty for that year. I believe I can do this job. I know I'm equipped to do it, you know. So he started asking me, where's your dad? Who do you live with? And I started telling him about how I was squatting with the chef. So who do you know here? I don't know anybody in this town. And you were so brave. How old are you? 24. The man couldn't believe it. He said, look, my friend, I respect your courage. Then he brought out his suitcase, opened it, and counted, I think, about almost 1,000 or 2,000 naira at that time, which is almost
then
like retirement fund for me at the time. Brand new notes and gave it to me. And I said, sorry, sir, I'm afraid I cannot accept this. He said, I'm old enough to be your papa that take it. And he gave me the money. I said, but sadly, we don't have a job. We don't have an opening right now. It was the days just post Babangida era where all of the banks and all the mortgage houses had just crashed in
right,
93, 94.
right.
So I was there in 95 and they were just recovering because almost 70, 80% of the MC&S client base were banks and mortgage houses. So
Okay,
that
okay.
had really impacted them.
Yeah.
You know, so I stood up, thanked him. I was going through the door. I was just about to open it when he just called and said, young man, come back on Thursday. We'll give you a test. If you're any good, if you're as good as you say you are, we'll give you a job. Thursday, I was there, took the tests, and the rest is history. But one thing I'll say about Mr. Johnson is that he really took me like his son. I think he saw the future way ahead of anybody else. He really, really liked me, took me under his wings, and he used to stay further off mile two. And then anytime he was going home, I used to take a ride with him because if not, normally what I normally would do, I was usually the first person that gets to work because I was working with the chef. I needed to leave the room early, and I would be the last person to leave the office because, again, I'm not even sure the chef was going to be in the room that will have access to the room. So I used to carry books with me because wherever I am in the hotel, I can just continue reading what I was reading. So people thought I loved my job so much. I just did not have
So,
anywhere to go to.
nowhere to
So
go.
yeah, so sometimes I'll just stay back and do more work and whatever. But Mr. Johnson saw all of those things in me and just used to push me a lot, used to advise me, because at the time he even actually hired me against the recommendation of the then creative director. I had a creative director that I will not mention now, but did not want me to be hired, but Mr. Johnson overruled him and hired me. So before he died, anytime he sees me, he says, "Steve, I am so happy I bet on the right horse. I'm so glad I took a decision. Look at you now." So January
Wow.
6th is Baba's birthday. We call him Baba, and I, even though that he's passed on, January 6th this year, I still said a prayer for Baba to say, "Look, thank you for everything you did for me, and God continue to rest his soul."
Oh my God.
Yeah,
That is such an incredible story.
absolutely.
That's an incredible story. And I think that it's an incredible story on both sides. The role Baba played, and also the fact that you were just this young guy, young kid who just got an idea of what he wanted to do with his life and decided to follow it. I mean, we are talking about this now. We are smiling. We are, like it sounds good, but I can only imagine like living through all of that. And I can also just imagine what was going through his mind as well, looking at you and thinking, like, wow, like there's no way. I don't even think that it's so much about your, because he didn't know much about you in terms of maybe talent or skills or
Nothing. He
whatever.
actually knew
I,
nothing about me.
yeah, all he
To make it
saw
even
was,
more interesting, to show you
yeah,
how much I was willing to still take a gamble, take a chance on me. When when I announced setting up Extreme Ideas on August 1, 2012, Baba wrote an article in the Guardian newspaper, a full page article that he published to say, "I know this kid. I brought him up, and if it is anything that I know about him, his agency is going to be successful." He did that, and I don't think I've seen anything like that in my life. I don't think I've seen anything like that since then, where your former boss will write an article, an op-ed in a paper just to say, "Look, you've announced that you're setting up your business. If anything I know about this guy is anything to go by, I know that business is going to be successful." And 13 years after, I will say once again, Baba was right. Yeah.
honestly, man, honestly, we can just end this podcast here, like,
Yeah.
because like, and I really hope that anyone who is listening or watching, because when I was thinking about this podcast as a whole, as a platform, as something I wanted to do,
Yeah.
I was also very clear that I wanted it to be both personal and professional. I
Mm.
wanted people to be able to sit and learn about life, not just the business or the craft of advertising or marketing. And I dare say that this is one of those episodes that has ticked that personal side
Yeah.
100%. I listening to you, I mean, like I have my story as well in terms of just how, in my little way, nothing as crazy as what you have just said, I left home early as well. I left home early as well, but I didn't. I was already in Lagos, so I didn't leave Kaduna to head to Lagos, where I knew nobody. Like where I just knew that if this thing was going to work, I have to be in Lagos. Like it is such an incredible story, and I mean. God rest Baba's soul, and it's amazing, and I guess that's the point, right? Is that it's a legacy. You are his legacy. You are his
Yeah,
legacy. You are
absolutely.
there. Yeah, and speaking of a legacy, I listened to one of your interviews, and you cited legacy as one of the main reasons you decided to start your company. What was your thought process, or what did you mean by that?
Well, I mean, I joined Prima Garnet in 2000, I think, and I spent 5 years in Prima Garnet. I think I'd risen to become a senior copywriter there. And then my boss at the time, Mr. Lulu Akumi, had this brilliant idea to set up another agency, uh, got the one for one worldwide franchise from the UK and set up one for one worldwide Nigeria at the time. And then he picked me from the bottom of the pile as far as I'm concerned because there were so many other eminently qualified creative people on the shop floor that he could have chosen. But surprisingly, he picked me and one of my colleagues, Suleiman Momo, to go and become the new creative director for the young agency. So I got moved to one for one as creative director in 2005. And then I had done that job for 7 years. In 6 months, actually, they rented like a twin duplex for the office of one for one that year. And one half of the duplex, one wing was supposed to be for uh, another media agency that Mr. Akiume was thinking about, and one half of the wing was supposed to be for one
One
for
for
one.
one.
3 months into our operation, Mr. Akiume said, "Look, forget about this media agency. Go and look for another place. This agency I'm watching is going to outgrow the one wing that we've given them." And true to type, within 6 months, we were already soaring, and we were. I used to take so much satisfaction in
Wow.
going for pitches with Prima Garnet included in the pitch. I will kick their behind, and then I'll pick the phone. I took so much delight in picking up my phone and calling my boss to say, "Look, we whooped you guys behind. You guys are old. We are the it agent." Oh, I'm sure how much he hates that.
Oh my God.
Honestly, I have the agency in Zambia, the CEO of the agency in Zambia, Adenike Odutola, who she's a thorn in my flesh, especially when we are fighting for the same thing as well. So I think it's karma being a female dog coming to bite me in the behind now. But I used to enjoy tormenting Mr. Akume just to call him about how one for one is doing well. I remember one pitch we went for, I think for Western Union. The pitch was in Casablanca. And that year, there was only one flight from Lagos to Casablanca in a week. I think it was on a Thursday. So it meant that all the agencies that were going to go for that pitch had to be on the same flight, so we were all in the same flight. And that all of the whole business class was filled with advertising people going for the same pitch. And I stood up before the flight took off to say, "Look, good afternoon, gentlemen. My name is Steve Babaeko, like some of you may know. I just have one last minute announcement to make. We're going for this pitch. I don't know the agency that's going to win the pitch, but I know the agency that's not going to win. I know Prima Ganis is not going to win this pitch. Mr. Akume, you are here with two other people. You have a final opportunity. Disembark from this flight, save your flight money, save your extra code, save your hotel money, because one for one is taking this one." I can't even imagine.
Oh my
Okay, but he was always a good sport. He took it with a great smile. Said, "You still be talking crap once again." We went to Casablanca. I promise you, one for one won the pitch. You know. So I mean, I had done that. I'd had so much fun working in one for one. It's become like the number one agency as far as I was concerned. All the youngest talents in the country wanted to work there. we were just popping, we were on fire. But then I was just a creative director. I had bigger ideas of how I think an agency could run and function. I wasn't the CEO, I wasn't the managing director. So there was just so much wrestling. And for the person that was the managing director, we were at loggerheads from day one till the day I finally left.
Wow.
It was just the visions just did not align.
Yeah. Yeah.
But one thing that I was so sure of is that look, if this agency is going to succeed, I cannot allow the fact that our differences in opinion and perspective on how the agency should move, I shall never allow it to affect the operation of the agency. So I just I'll go to her office when we one on one. I give her my mind, totally unfiltered, undiluted. She knows exactly what I think about any issue or whatever, and it was going like that. But I think in 2012, I just finally realized I'd gone past 40 at that time. So I think that's when you start to see flashing light and just start to see your mortality and know that look, you you are just a passenger on this planet, and then what's going to happen? So they are going to write your history in 10, 20, 30 years time, and they're going to say he was just a good creative director, which is not bad in itself, but is there nothing bigger that you can aspire to? That was when the idea to set up Extreme Ideas came, and I just said, look, you know what? I want to leave a bigger legacy, bigger than just being a creative director. And again, plus the irritation of what was the norm at the time in Nigeria, the whole myth about creative people are not good business people.
Right.
So all of that
Right.
nonsense used to really, really rile me a lot
I
because
can
I mean the
imagine.
fact that I'm a creative does not mean I'm an idiot. It means that it should actually be a plus. It means that I can
Yeah.
run a very, very creative enterprise and make nickel and dime off it. And those are the myths that we came to shatter. And I think 13 years later, nobody will ever dare open their mouth to say creative people are not good business people because we've proven that.
Wow,
So,
wow. When you look at back, when you look at the business you have built, and how successful it has become,
mm,
I can imagine where you still want to get to with this, but when you look back at what you've built so far, if you had to write a book about, what drove success for the business, what will those key pillars be? And this is, and I want you to talk about this like you are talking to a young person or another professional who is looking to build a creative business as well. Like what, I have a few young friends who are running their own, practice, and I'm sure that they would appreciate this question I'm asking. So, what would you say are the core pillars or the core drivers of success for the business that you have built?
well, I think a couple of P's, in my opinion. One is perseverance. I mean, if I tell people we're 13 years strong in Nigeria right now, about maybe 5, 6 years strong in Zambia, Lusaka, and a couple of other countries. But let me use Nigeria as an example. If you can run a business for 13 minutes in Nigeria and the business is successful, you should have a statue erected for you somewhere on TBS Square. Because running a business, a successful business for 13 minutes in Nigeria is a major achievement. Now you run that
Yeah,
business for 13 months. That's even like your legendary status is sealed. Now you now run it for 13 years, my brother. Because not because Nigeria is an awesome country, it's still one of the most uh it's just a land of opportunity where you can do so
yeah,
much. But because of
yeah,
infrastructural deficits and all of the challenges you have to face, it
yeah,
is actually a lot more difficult for you to
yeah,
like make all of the necessary climb you need to make. So
yeah,
those are these issues I'm talking about. If not, I still love the fact that Nigeria made me everything that I am today, and I'm really grateful to the country. I love my country, but I just hope that we can fix some of the infrastructural challenges, some of the security
yeah,
issues, some of the monetary and macroeconomic policies that will help us.
yeah,
So I think, which is why it is important for you to be able to persevere and just
yeah,
keep, whatever curveball
yeah,
the economic throws at you, take it on the chin like a man or a good woman and keep moving. So
yeah,
perseverance is key. People to succeed, advertising is like one of those team sports. If without people, you cannot succeed in this business. No matter how genius you are as an individual, you need good people around you. So if you have to be able to surround yourself with the best talent, the best brain, which means that you have to be able to also pay the right kind of money to retain
Yeah.
the talent. So, but
Yeah.
people is so super crucial. And it's processes. How do you set up
Mm.
processes in place? You still see when I was coming up in the game, you see the CEOs of agencies that will have the checkbook of the agency in their breast pocket. They can write it and just take money and go on holiday or do all kinds of stuff. They can just write checks. If you don't maintain strict fiscal discipline, you will fail.
Yeah.
So I think processes is really key. So between those three pieces, if you can get it right, I think you definitely on your way to success.
Wow. 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 Three P's. Interesting.
Yes.
So the first one was perseverance, second one is people, and the third one is processes.
Process.
I think the people one is the one that I find very interesting, and I always like to have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
Is that there seem to be this trail of, scarred relationships in the business of advertising, where someone joins a company and I think what I'm trying to say is that people bringing in the people it looks like that's not the challenge. It looks like retaining them is usually the challenge. What's your own playbook for retaining these really great talents that you get? What's your playbook for it?
Honestly, you can't retain anybody. That's
Wow.
let's start from there. If once you understand that I'll give you the case study of the royal family in the UK.
Right.
Wonderful royal family. They've been around for centuries and they've always stayed together. A true son of the soil, a member of the royal family, Prince Harry, woke up one morning and said, I love you guys with the love of the Lord, but I really don't want to be a part of this royal family anymore. I'm moving with my wife. We're moving to the United States to start a new life. The world did not come to an end.
Right.
So just understand that people will come, people will go. And the policy I've tried to put in place with extremists to understand that, look, for every young person coming in, this is like Arsenal Football Club, Manchester United Football Club. The players will come and go. The club must remain.
Right.
At some point, if you're talking about Man United and you're not talking about maybe Beckham,
Yeah.
you're not seeing nothing. At some
Yeah.
point, Ronaldo was the arrowhead of the club. Now he's playing in Saudi Arabia. We are unfortunately Man United have fallen on some very bad patch right now. But the same thing with Arsenal. Thierry Henry was there. There was a time it was Vieira and all of those legendary players. Those are the names that made Arsenal tick. But
Yeah.
today, now a 17-year-old guy is the one that that sealed the win against Man City. So one thing, if you build the place and you build the business and you build the establishment, build the institution, it's going to always be a revolving door, whether it's in their business advertising, whether it's so if you start to let your heart ache too much,
Right.
you because people will revolve through that door and move on to great things as well. You should
Yeah.
be able to
Yeah.
allow yourself to be happy for them.
Yeah.
You should be able to applaud them and be proud that your institution allowed them that rite of passage
Right.
to move on to their
Right.
level. I had to live somewhere to get here. So I the only person that will leave extreme ideas today that will shock me is myself. If I resign, that should be so. So the moment I'm hiring anybody, I know that one day you're going to have to leave, and we are
Mm.
ready. But what we want to do is that I don't care how long you stay. It could be 1 month, it could be 1 year, it could be 6 years. I don't care. That's not the point for me. What is important to me is that while you're here, I want it to be a mutually beneficial work environment for both of us, for you to be able to achieve your personal goal and for us to be able to meet company plan. And once we're able to do that, yeah, I mean, because
Wow.
to be
Wow.
honest, for every one person that's leaving, there are 100 people with talent begging to come in.
Interesting.
You see,
Interesting.
and that's why even for the people that are in the system, I keep telling them you have to be at your best game all the
Yeah.
time. Because if you are
Yeah.
not on your best game, I liken it to a snake sitting on a tuber of yam. So snakes don't eat yam, but they are sitting on this beautiful tuber of yam. Now there are hungry people on the fringe waiting to looking for something to eat, but because the snake is sitting on this tuber of yam, they can't touch it. So
Oh
you're
boy.
wasting space if you are in our system and you are not on your A game all the time. So it's better for us to shake hands, you move on, so that you let hungry people who really need to get access to the yam to get in. So
Wow.
if you are open-minded like that, put
Yeah.
the emphasis on being able to build a system that will allow people
Yeah.
to thrive. And if they
Yeah.
decide to move on, be happy for them. I think
Fantastic.
that's my own policy about this.
Interesting. Interesting. Very interesting. Just a very quick story before I go into my next question. I once, and I'm not ashamed to say this, I
Yeah.
once literally, I'm not even going to lie, I once
Yeah.
literally shed a tear when someone on my team said that they wanted to leave. And
Oh
and
wow.
and the tear wasn't, it was because this was someone I actually really believed in. Not in terms of like, oh, this person will stay with me till the end of time. No, it was someone that I had a lot of respect for in terms of their skill set, what they could do. I mean, they were early in their career, but I also knew that, man, this person is going to be really really good, and I would love to be a part of that journey as well. And unfortunately, the day she called and said that she was, I'm not gonna lie, I was on the phone. I was literally, and the funny thing, the day I was interviewing this lady, when I mean you're trying to hire someone, you have an idea of the budgets in terms of like gross pay or whatever that you are looking at for this person. And in the first 5, 6, 7 minutes of talking to her, I just said, sorry, give me a few minutes. I stepped out and I went to meet my partners and I said, I know that this is what we said we wanted to pay this person, but I wanted to tell you guys that if this person should ask for more, about this much, I'm going to give her, because there's no way this person is leaving my office and I don't hire her. It's impossible. I'm not going to let that happen, you know. So she actually made that kind of impression on me. And even in the time that she was with the business, she was everything I imagined she would be. So the day she was leaving, when she called and said that she was leaving, I was literally on the phone. The only thing I did not do is beg that, why are you, like, what is the problem? Unfortunately, she was leaving because of the client that she was managing. Because the client at the time had made working with them almost impossible, and so she had to deal with all of that consistently. At different times, I had stepped in. But anyway, before I go into this rabbit hole, I just wanted to talk about my story of crying when somebody said that they are going to
So
leave the
you
business.
can imagine if you have to do that, if you have
Every
to do
time someone was leaving, yeah,
that cycle, even your own mental health will be screaming for attention. So to be honest, I think the thing is to understand is that whatever the reasons are, let me tell you,
yeah,
Chevron, if you work in the oil business in Nigeria, is perhaps one
yeah,
of the most highest paying job. I promise you, in Chevron today, there's perhaps somebody that just put in their letter of resignation
right,
today. And what are they leaving to do? Perhaps, let me stretch my imagination. They want to start a bakery. That's their passion. What are you going to
right.
do to support them?
Nothing, nothing, nothing.
Once you see, to be honest, it's good to have all of those exit interview. Find out. I hope it's not something within the system,
Right,
so
right,
you can
right,
auto
right.
correct and all of that. But once it's clear that look, these people just want to advance their own course and just move one or two notches higher than where they are, then I think it's just good to give your blessing. I
Interesting.
go through this all the time, and because I know I'm not holding anything except if you really now say something that is terrible or not even true about our
Right,
or
right,
your way
right.
out. or the way you left is also questionable, then
Right.
we'll
Right.
get some minimal reaction from me, which is, to be honest, is indifference. To be honest, I just
Yeah. Yeah.
not care. If not, I still keep in touch with a lot of the people that have left here. Some of
Right.
them have left to set up their own agency that are successful by every right, and some of them have moved on to the client side. And I'm still happy to see them as colleagues and celebrate them at every new
Fantastic.
opportunity. Yeah.
Fantastic. In another interview, you spoke about purpose, and why I'm citing this is because
Mhm.
it was a very I found it very very interesting, and the way you described it, it was that you said that you believe that part of your responsibility is to use your platform, your business, to breed greatness in others. And again, like, and why they really resonate with me is obvious. I share the same philosophy, but it's it's because unfortunately I've seen one too many examples where, you know, if the other party who was involved in this would have this mindset, it would have been an easier conversation or an easier transition or an easier movement. Can you talk a little bit about this idea of you believing firmly that part of your purpose is to use your platform, your business, to breed greatness in others?
Well, I think it's just like if you take the Maslow theory of need and you do it, once you get to the peak, then you start to aspire for even higher purpose. I think once we're able to put the brick and mortar office in place, the business was doing well. We're really fortunate our big business became successful from even year one, to be honest. Uh, Even though the first year, August 1, 2012, was when we set up, we only had 5 months within the fiscal calendar year. But in that 5 months, we had shattered maybe tripled or 5 times, 5x the numbers that we were looking at the beginning of the business. So, and from then
Interesting.
on, it's become really successful like that, you know. But so at some point, you start to think there has to be a greater purpose to all of this. Now that you're
Yeah.
not struggling about the nickel and dime anymore, so
Yeah.
what is the purpose?
Yeah.
And that really kept me up late at night for several months. And then I think one night I finally found it, and I was so sure I found it because it was so clear in my head that look, your purpose is for you to use this God-given platform, make it available for the next generation to stand on. And when they stand on that platform, they can also realize their own purpose. And I felt very, very happy. I felt excited. So
Wow.
now it's still the
Wow.
same playbook for me till today that if you come through this process and then you stand on this platform and you become eminent in your own right, whether the whether the severance ended up amicable or not,
Yeah.
mission accomplished.
Yeah.
Whether we are now smiling at each other or we are not
Yeah.
even smiling
Yeah.
at it, I've
Yeah.
achieved my mission. So I'm not I'm
Yeah.
not I'm not bothered about how the state of play of the relationship
Yeah. Yeah.
that ends. You
Yeah.
have gone through that rite of passage. You have helped me to fulfill my own purpose because my entire purpose is to still continue to make this platform available for the
Yeah.
guys coming up behind to stand on, and by standing on it, discover their own purpose. So for me, it makes life a lot easier for me. It
Right.
makes all of the struggle and all the emotional debate and all the emotional struggle,
Yeah. Yeah.
whole process of managing people become a lot easier for me to break down and digest.
Wow, 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 wow. As I mean, there's just a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
But as we start to sort of round up,
Yeah.
what's next for Extreme, the Extreme Group? What's next for the business?
Honestly, some people will say, in the typical Yoruba fashion, I was having a conversation with a senior colleague in the industry, and I say one of the things that I still find holding this industry back is that, the Yoruba tradition of saying, this is my business, and there's a very interesting way the Yoruba will say this to say, iṣẹ́ tá a dá sílẹ̀ tí mo fẹ́ fi lé ọmọ lọ́wọ́, that kind of thing. There's so much emotional pride and joy in building a successful business, and ending of it, the way they see it is to say, I hand this business over to my child. And I say, unfortunately, I don't subscribe to that philosophy.
Right.
And I'll tell you why. There are two ways to do this thing. As I have three boys, I'm really proud of my boys. One is already in uni, the other one is doing his A levels, another one is in the media school. There are two ways I could do this thing. I could start to groom them and say, "Come and take over my business." I don't even know if they are interested in advertising. None of them has
Right.
shown interested in advertising. So the guy wants to play football, but I'm shoehorning him into inheriting an advertising business where already the shoe you are living is so large that they are going to be under your shadow for such a long time
Yeah.
before they break
Yeah.
out. That's one way to look at it. The consequence of that is that the business starts to diminish because if they don't have the kind of passion that has driven our success so far that I
Right.
carry in
Right.
my heart, that's a problem. Or the other way is I build this business, I make an exit plan, and I sell for $150 million, and I take that money, and the day they are ready and they say, Papa, what I want to do is to set up a shopping mall. I love the retail idea. And I write a check of $5 million to say, look, this is a loan to help you start off your dream. Which one do you think is better? Eitayo? So I
I
think
mean,
you have
it's obvious. It's
absolutely.
obvious.
So for me, I think the future for us is that we truly want to build perhaps Africa's first truly Africa's first true agency network on this continent. Shout out to all of the Caucasians and all of the guys from the global north that have tried to build a lot of. We just know that, to be honest, in all sincerity, most of them are just pinned on a map somewhere. The operations don't exist. Like we like to say at Extreme, we speak African. We speak Africa. That language, understanding the demography, the psychographics of what makes this continent tick, we understand it. So my dream is to be able to build Africa's first true global agency.
Wow.
If you take Asia, there's been Dentsu, a couple of all
Yeah.
those global
Yeah.
agencies. If you take
Yeah.
Europe, you can't even count all
There's a
of the
lot.
publicists and all of the guys.
Yeah.
If you take
Yeah.
America, of course, you can count so many.
Yeah.
Show me one that has come from Africa. None. And like everything we do, we always punch above our weight category. We know that this thing is Kilimanjaro, but we're definitely going to climb it. We start very slow. The journey can be tough going, but we always climb it. The thing with Cannes, no West African agency had ever won the Cannes Lions. I said to my guys, we will be the first. Only one can be the first. Only one
Abby,
can be the first.
right?
It has to be, and we did it. We did it.
Amazing.
In fact, we did it. The goal we set for ourselves, we did it 2 years earlier than that date we set for ourselves. So, I
Amazing.
mean, we truly want to be that first global agency from Africa, and
Interesting.
let's
Do
go.
we this is just me picking up on some, do we see, is that the price tag you are eyeing? Do we see something
Well,
coming?
to be honest with you, Eitayo, if you write me a check of $150 million today, I will take a break from this podcast, do a video on my phone to say Eitayo Olayemi is the new owner of Extreme Ideas.
Goodness,
I'll be
goodness.
yes.
What is your like that? I've got two more questions and then we'll wrap
Sure,
up. The
sure,
first
sure.
one is 2025 is early to some
Mhm.
extent, in a matter of it's relatively early. What is your because we have a lot of senior executives who also listen to the podcast, which is very flattering for me. What is your recommendation to marketing leaders or CMOs in terms of 2025? what are the things you believe that they need to be paying very close attention to?
Two things. If you ask me, just right off the bat, two things. One, this is the time to work with your agency partner as if you guys are Siamese twins. And I
Right,
say this for one major reason.
right.
We are all witnesses to a new era in being a human being.
Hmm.
There's no reference for all of the things that are going to happen to us in 2025 and beyond.
Yeah,
So you need a trusted hand, a solid partner that you guys can hold each other's hand and navigate all of the millions of changes that we're going to be encountering. It's important. And I promise you, only the client partner that are able to form that bond with their agency, those are the ones that are going to win. Okay?
hmm.
All of those guys still living in that old school world of, oh, they are just suppliers and all of that. I'm afraid I don't have so much good news in terms of them being able to win. But this is the time for us to sit down. This is when people who sailors say all hands on deck. That's
Yeah,
we're talking about 2025 here, my brother. So that's number one. Number two is time for all the clients to go back to the basis of putting consumers at the center of everything they are doing, whether it's sales, whether it's marketing, whether it's any kind of operation they are planning. The consumer has to be at the center of it. All of the other things that we all the bells and whistles that we used to do, they are nice, but let's go back to just the basis of being able to put this consumer right in the center. Because the
fantastic.
consumer is matter now, they are able to take decision, they own their own media. Back in the days, we used to just be able to shoot commercial and shoot to them. I mean, these guys are creating their own content and they are not even listening to what you have to say.
Wow,
So put them
wow,
right in the middle of what you're doing, and then you will
interesting.
succeed.
We'll flip the script. What do we say to agencies and marketing services firms? What do you say to them in terms of what they need to be focusing on today to serve their clients better?
I just finished my tenure as president of Association of Advertising Agencies of Nigeria, AAA, and I finished last year. But I still retain my position as the president for IAA Nigeria, International Advertising Association, the Nigerian branch. I'm the president. What I'll say to agencies is that all of those days of waiting for clients to spoon feed you and give you briefs are gone. If you really want to succeed, you have to focus more on proactive, scan the environment, because now it's not about, oh, who gave the brief or whatever. It is that clients are facing almost existential issues.
Yeah,
It's a question of, are we going to see tomorrow? Are we going to look at if all of the clients that you work for today, the knock that all of them took with just this even currency devaluation is mind blowing.
yeah,
So they are dealing with all of that, and you still think, oh, they are going to have the patience to. So honestly, the agency that is able to now scan the environment and pinpoint challenges and start to work towards it and meet the client halfway to say, we see that you're having challenges in this area. And from what we see in the market, those are the agencies that are going to win. And the agency that's also able to continue to update their own processes to take into cognizance all of the technological advancement and disruption happening around us are the agencies that are also going to win. So the old
wow,
ways of doing things are dead and gone, and they are never coming back again. We have
wow,
to now start to upskill
wow,
and acquire new skills to do the
wow.
same old
I,
things.
I I think that the point you made up to agencies is very, very, very critical in terms of
Yeah,
being solution providers.
absolutely,
Where is the
absolutely,
problem and how can we solve these problems? So I
absolutely.
completely, completely agree. Um, there's no way we can end this podcast without you giving us a very short, sort of like a masterclass when it
Okay.
comes to creating advertising campaigns that hit the mark. What is Steve Babaeko's secret formula for developing or designing advertising campaigns that hit?
Well, again, just two things basically, in my opinion. I mean, you can talk about 15 or 20 things. It's about form, it's about content.
Hmm.
What do you have to say? How are we going to say it? And it doesn't matter what new technology we are dealing with, that's always going to be the issue. What is the campaign message? What is the strategic thought? What is the strategic thinking of the message we have to pass to solve a particular marketing challenge? If you understand that message, like there's an old Macan axiom. They said it says advertising is truth well told. Truth
Hmm.
well told. So what is
Hmm.
that innate, like the searches would say back in the days, single universally recognizable truth, the SULT. What is that thing? What do you have to say? What is that truth that you have to say? And then the other one is, how are you going to say it? Are we going to use a
Wow.
podcast? Are we going to use AI? Are we going to use good old TV and radio sports? Are we going to use engagement? Are we going to use, well, it's about form and content. If you get those two right, get the content right, excellence of execution for the form, you're home and dry.
Wow. 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 Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. The more
Thank
we are
you.
talking, the more there's another one in my mind. Sorry, just this last one. I have to ask
Good
this one
one,
as
good
well.
one, good one. Shoot.
Um, for ad business, for advertising businesses, or marketing services, broadly speaking, um, because I think that it appears, like it's becoming more and more challenging for marketing services businesses, whether it's ad agencies or digital, whatever the case may be. It appears like it's becoming more and more challenging, especially for those you would consider maybe boutique, agencies or houses. What would you advise, agencies or marketing services companies? How would you advise them to navigate these times that we are in order to obviously, I mean, make it through these times and then into sort of like profitability and growth? How would you advise them?
My advice has been simple. Is simple, and I did all of that in my 4 year tenure as president of AAAN in Nigeria. This is the time for us to have a lot of collaboration within the marketing agency space. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
Because you see, all of those whole ego driven of sense of saying, look, I have my own shop and I run my own shop. Uh, like they say, 100% of zero naira is still zero naira, right?
Yeah.
But if
Yeah.
you have 50% of 1,000 naira, you know how much that is, right? My
Yeah.
math is not so good. But the thing is that all of that ego stops us from being able to collaborate more. And I'll give you the example I normally give to my friends is look at the telco space in Nigeria. There was a time when the telecom companies came into Nigeria. Everybody wanted to erect their own mast and their whole. And you see, that's not the problem because then the whole hype was, oh, I'm covering, I have bigger coverage, my coverage is better than yours, and all of those things that they used to throw around back in the early days of telco operation in Nigeria. But you see, that the problem that came out immediately after they started expanding and erecting all of those masses, the peculiarity of doing business in Nigeria. Now, uh, power is a problem. So you have to find, and if power is down in an area where you have a mast, it's as good as having no mast. So what
Yeah.
did they do? You have to now put two generators for every mast you had. So there's one generator that will be the main generator that's back up to the electric
Yeah.
grid, electricity
Yeah.
grid, and there's a backup generator in case one of the generator goes down. There will be
Yeah.
the servicing of the generator. There will be diesel, and then you have to provide security because if not, some of those things could be pilfered and stolen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at the overhead costs that goes into just maintaining one mast. So what did they do? Most of them just finally said, "Look, you know what? This thing is not working anymore. Let's do something called co-location."
Yeah.
Most of them sold their mast to an independent company and they are
Yeah.
all using the same mast. Are we agency people richer than the telco people?
No.
Not even by any stretch of the
Yeah.
imagination. So if the telco people can cooperate, it's not unheard of, even in the oil business, that you see, okay, somebody has an oil license, OPL, whatever, whatever, and
Yeah.
then two people just doing the whole drilling and all of those things. It's normal. So
Right.
why is it so difficult for some of us? There are some agencies that are not big enough to even to have their own creative department.
Yeah.
But you can still if strategy is your strength, why don't you combine effort with somebody that has a good creative shop
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
can partner with? There has to be a way we can work out that
Yeah.
partnership and drive down costs of our
Yeah.
operation. If we're able to do that, the future is bright for us. But if not, the bigger guys will continue to get bigger, and the
Yeah.
smaller guys, unfortunately, are facing a very bleak future, I'm afraid.
Wow, 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 wow. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you,
Thank
thank
you.
you, thank you, thank you very much for your time. This has been, there's so many, conversation points. There's so many takeaways from all of the conversations that we have had, and I'm really, really grateful that we took time to really talk through these things. I don't know if you have any other last words, any other that you want to share before
No,
we
just
before.
thank you, Itayo, for inviting me. It's been, like I said, it's been a long time coming,
Yeah,
and it didn't feel like an interview at all. It feels like
absolutely.
I'm chatting with an old friend. So,
Absolutely. I
really
did
appreciate the conversation.
I am flattered. I'm flattered. I deeply appreciate the feedback. We what we're trying to build is it's pretty clear in my mind, and it's why we have the quality of people we bring on, is why we are approaching it the way that we are, and I'm so grateful to God that it's playing out page by page the way that we hope that it will play out. Um, we're looking at some physical events later in the year.
I
Nothing
love
too elaborate, very intimate sessions, 30, 40 max guests. Very intimate sessions like that. Very well done. The way Extreme,
it.
would do things. I think that nobody's going to forget in a very long time your front cover. You know what I'm talking about, Abby?
Which one is that one?
There was a front cover. I can't remember what magazine it was now.
I've done a lot of
It
covers, so
was no, no. This one was you and your team. It
oh
was
yeah, yeah,
you.
yeah. I think
Were
a
you?
couple of years ago, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Nobody's gonna forget that in a long time. I think it was Tokwe
People
that was wearing
used
a
to
red dress. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was.
yeah, no, amazing, yeah, amazing red dress. People used to complain. People did complain that the shoulder pad on my suit was too much, I felt it could have been more because I very active at that time. So having a little chip on
Wow.
your shoulder was not going to hurt me at all, you know.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You have every reason to add more pads to your shoulder. Not just for the success of the business, but what you have done when it comes to your people. That's what I respect the most.
Thank you.
Um, it's not a very big industry, so you know people who know people, and every time that your name has come up, it has always been for the right reasons. And, I could say that categorically. I have friends who have worked with you. I have, when you refer to some of them who have gone to client side or started their own shops, some of them I can call friends. And even in my conversations with them, before now or even towards this podcast, it's always been nothing but love. And I wanted to, on behalf of all of them and
Thank you.
every other person in the industry, say a very big thank you for being the right example, the right model. Even when you were not planning to be a model, you were just being you. I would just wanted to say a very big thank you, very big
Thank you.
thank you for that, sir.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. And if there's any way that, the Diary of a CMO can be of service,
Okay, sure.
we'd
We
like
can take
to.
all of that conversation offline and see what
Okay, fantastic, fantastic.
how the
Thank you
team
so much,
will
sir. Thank you, thank you,
provide.
thank you. I'll be in
Thank you so
touch.
Thank you.